Hello, Facebook friends. This is Michelle from Pooch Parenting, and I have been running out of dog treats. And so I decided to get on here and do a little cooking show for you to show you a recipe that's really easy to make at home. And it's easy enough that you can bring the kids into the kitchen with you. So if you are interested in getting into the kitchen, doing an activity with your kiddos, or just doing something yourself and making some affordable dog treats, you can make them yourself. You don't have to buy them at the store. So this particular recipe is a modification of one that I have on my blog that uses canned salmon. And this time I'm going to be using a pork heart that I got at the farmer's market. I have it cut into pieces right here. And it is from a farm that was selling pork and beef organs for really cheap because they have a hard time selling those. They sell, different kind. They sell sheep milk and cow's milk and goat milk, and then they have, all kinds of pastured raised animals, but it's harder to get rid of the organs. So I have some other things in the freezer downstairs, a little bit of brain, I think, which is pretty interesting. Do I have brain? Maybe I don't have brain. I have kidney, I have heart, and I have a liver. So you can use the muscle meat, like the heart, and you can use organ meat, other kinds of organ meat that secretes hormones. The kidneys secrete hormones, and excuse me. Of course, the liver is filled with nutrients, super rich, yummy nutrients for dogs. But in this particular case, I'm going to be using the pork that I've got. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just use my food processor. It makes it super easy. I'm going to pour a bunch of ingredients into the food processor and basically let it do its magic. So I'm going to put this in here, and along with any of the other accumulated juices that come off from that. And I'm going to be adding 2 eggs, and I'm going to also include the shell from the eggs because the shell has some calcium and other nutrients that are good for the dog. So I am going to crack it open just so that the blender doesn't have to break through the shell on its own, but I'm going to put the shell in here with it. So I'm going to crack the egg, but then instead of putting the shell aside, I'm going to actually drop it in. This is another reason that it's such a super recipe to make with the kids, because it doesn't matter if you get any shell into the recipe. Okay, shells are going in there. I'm going to also add a little bit of flax oil, and probably just a couple of tablespoons. I'm not going to measure, but just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to let this roll for a little bit and let it try to puree some of itself together, and it should be fairly moist. Once that happens, I am going to add some Spirulina powder, and hey Jess, Spirulina powder comes from the ocean. It's from an algae, and it's filled with all kinds of really great nutrients for dogs. So I'm going to put some of this in. It's bright green, and it may make this a really nasty color, not entirely sure. The pork heart is going to make it kind of brown, and then I'm going to make it green. So these may be totally unappetizing looking treats, but luckily we're not the ones who have to look at it and then eat it, so it should be all good. And then I'm also going to be adding, in a little bit, I'm going to be adding some tapioca flour. You can buy tapioca flour at all kinds of grocery stores. I have some from Whole Foods that was really expensive, and then when I was at the Asian market, I discovered that you can get bags of tapioca flour for only 99 cents. So that's, now for this kind of recipe, it takes about a half a cup. And so that's a great source to get the tapioca powder, is because it's really affordable at the Asian market if you can get it that way. But let me roll the blender, so in case, or my food processor, so in case you haven't seen what I did get, we have some pork heart from the farmer's market, 2 eggs from my chickens in the yard, and a little bit of flax oil. And I'm going to just get this rolling and let it go. So give me a second while this goes. It's pretty liquidy, and so I may end up needing to add a little bit more flour. I like to use tapioca flour for this recipe. I think that is a really nice binder. And I've also never seen a dog that's been allergic to tapioca flour before. So any dogs that are sensitive to grains, like flour or, wheat, obviously, or who have any other sensitivity, like to rice, or obviously to corn. Corn is not a good ingredient for dogs to eat. Tapioca flour seems to be a really nice, benign ingredient that doesn't seem to bother most dogs' digestive system. Okay. All right. This looks super gross. Okay, so I'm about to make it look even grosser. So the spirulina powder is really dark green. So I'm going to add that. Pour that in. And then I'm going to add in my tapioca flour. So I didn't pre-measure the tapioca flour, but I knew there was about a half a cup left in the bag. So that was what the recipe would typically call for. If I feel like it is way too runny, then I'll probably add some more. But I did finish up this particular bag. I have another bag in the cabinet. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is put this on one more time. Okay, so now it looks like a paste, kind of like pancake batter would. And I'm gonna take it out and let you sort of take a look at it. So it's green. And what you can see here on the edges, those are some of the eggshells, and I'll mix those in once I get my spatula out. But here's a really cool thing that I wanted to show you about how we're gonna make these. So we're gonna be pouring the batter into, so this is a silicone baking mold, and it sticks up. There's little pyramids. Can you see that shape? And we're going to be pouring it into the holes. I just have it sitting on an old baking sheet so that it doesn't get tippy in the oven. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to pour out the batter, and I'm going to use the back of a spatula, and we're going to spread it out in this, and then we're going to bake it in the oven until it gets dried out. And what will ultimately happen is once these dry out, I'm not going to make you watch that part. That part's going to be really boring. What we'll do is we'll cook them until they get dry and a little bit crunchy. And then I typically turn off the oven and let them sit in there for a little bit. And then you pop them out of the mold by just turning it upside down onto the baking sheet. And then I store them in glass jars in the refrigerator, or sometimes I will store them in a zip top bag in the freezer. It makes a lot. And in fact, this recipe will most likely make 2 trays worth. And when you buy these, I'll put a link in the comments below where you can buy these on Amazon. They typically come in sets of 2. And so it's really nice because most recipes make enough of this stuff that you end up with 2 trays worth. And it lasts a really long time, and most of the time dogs really go nuts over this stuff. So what I'm going to do, I don't know, I think you can see. I'm going to bring it a little bit closer so that you can see here. You don't really need to see me so much as you need to see what's happening here. And, okay, so I'm going to just sort of demonstrate. I'm going to just get the eggshells off the side of here. And I'm going to pour some of this out. It's a little thick. And it's going to kind of glop onto the top. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread it out. So you can see how it's kind of thick. Hi, Jared. So I'm going to spread this out and try to get it to fill up these holes. And I'm going to just kind of spread it out like this. Doesn't take very long. I'm probably not going to make you watch all this part because this part is like watching paint dry. It's not super exciting. But you basically are going to spread it all out and fill up all these holes. And then I'm gonna pop this thing in the oven. So I'm gonna finish this without you guys because I don't want you to get bored to death. But I did want to just let you know that I will put links to these trays in the comments below once I post the video, and I will post the ingredients that I put in this particular version of this recipe, and I'll also put a link to my original one that has canned salmon. You could use canned tuna, you could use ground turkey, you could use anything. Any kind of protein would work in this recipe. And if you have any great dog recipes, that sounded bad, dog recipes. I think you knew what I meant. Recipes for your dogs? Then leave links to those in the comments also so that we can all try those as well. It's pretty fun to make your own treats. I think this one won't make my house smell as bad as when I made the salmon treats. That one was pretty gross. Okay, so the gist, I'm gonna spread it out even more, but you can see that it's pretty thinly distributed, and I'll try to make sure some more of these holes get filled. And then I'm gonna use the rest of the batter on the other tray. And, okay, so if you have any other questions, you can ask now before I switch off and get to making the next batch. You can also, hi Susan, hi Amy, and you guys can leave questions or recipe links to your own recipes. I would love to see them in the comments below, and I will let you know how these treats turn out. I'm really curious how ugly they look when they come out, but luckily Barley doesn't care, and most of my training clients don't care. So again, just to reiterate, we had some pork heart, 2 eggs from my chickens, some tapioca flour, a little spirulina, and some flaxseed oil. And we'll give it a try. I've never tried this recipe before, so I'm doing it in front of you for the first time. Hope it works out. Anyway, for more recipes, you guys can come on Pooch Parenting. If you know people who like to cook for their dogs, send them on over, and I would love to see your recipe links too. I'll post a picture of these or a video of Barley giving them a taste later on once they're cooked. Have a wonderful day. Bye guys.